Hello everybody, my name is KingStix. In this VOD review, I'm going to be showing you how to play against an early game jungler such as Nidalee as a very weak early game jungler such as Nunu. In this particular game, we are going up against Tarzaned on his 90% win rate Grandmaster's account, and on our team we have the legendary Yasuo, the Mo God himself. I have some exciting news. GameLeap and I have partnered up to help you rank up fast. This guide is one of the many videos we're creating together, and if you're serious about winning more games, GameLeap is the best shot to make it happen fast. Click on my link in the description or in the pinned comment to get a discount on your membership so you can watch all my videos on the site and much more. Let's jump right into it. Something I'd like to point out is it's very likely you'll be invaded as a weak early game jungler. As you can see, they're already spam pinging my red buff because they plan on invading. This is why it is very important for you as the jungler to make sure you get vision. So whether you lay a ward or you can stand in this bush, this is my favorite spot. So as I stand here, the enemies all walk through. I get an idea of what their plans are. Since there's so many of them, I figure there's a good chance they're going to stay. And as a weak early game jungler, how are you going to fight something like this that has so much range? The Zillion, the Jhin, the Nidalee, they'll just kite me to death. We can't fight this. That will easily be a losing battle. Ranged in the level 1 is the massive advantage. So I'm making a decision here. I don't see them leaving. I don't see them pushing into here. So I'm pretty sure they're just going to start on my camp, and I'll just let that be. What I want to look to do is get resources elsewhere on the map, so instead I'm going to start my blue. Thankfully I get a leash, but it's not a big deal. After my blue buff, I'm going to move into Nidalee's jungle since she started on my red. There's no reason for me to go back into that area. As I start up my W, the enemies are spam pinging this area. It was kind of weird. They even were pinging it over here, so I think they could be ghosting. I use my W to get to the Raptor camp to start taking resources. I'm keeping a very close eye on the enemy mid laner and top laner to see if they flinch and start to move over here. That way I can get an idea. Whenever you are trading resources with the enemy jungler because they invaded you or whatever, it's best to leave one little raptor. That way it won't spawn back in. It's a very strong tactic. So if I just leave this here, when Nidalee comes in this area, her camp won't be spawning back in and it won't be a higher level. It'll still be stuck at level 1 with only one raptor forever until she clears it. Next, I'm moving on to the red buff. Obviously, I don't know that this is warded, so I'm keeping a close eye on the lanes. As I take this, I see Teemo starts to transition a little bit, so I know they know I'm here. My teammates start pinging me, and I'm just trying to yank it into the bush so as enemies come. At this point, I decide to peel off since Yasuo was following, and I see Irelia. And this is where the enemies make a huge mistake. Nidalee steals my red buff. Well, it's technically her red buff, but she steals the red buff that I'm taking from her. At this point, they should just run. Nidalee doesn't have a level advantage on me, so even her stealing that from me wasn't a huge deal. And what they're gonna run into here is we have a lot of CC. Even though they have 2 range champions, and like I said earlier, range is better than melee, that's mainly in the level 1s. Once melee champions have 2 to 3 abilities, they tend to be stronger, especially with a CC champion like Nunu. So in this case, we'll do a bit of a chase down. The enemies will get greedy. They think they're strong because they have red buff. All I have to do is apply my CC, use my Q, just be tanky. I don't have my E yet, but I do still have my W. I CC her there, and it lets Pantheon pick up an easy kill. At this point, a lot of you might be thinking, well, maybe you should recall, maybe you should go back into your own jungle. The thing is Nidalee's already taken my red buff. I pressed tab to check her CS. And I can tell that the only camp she's done is my red buff and her blue buff, since she has both buffs on her whenever she came over here. She had 8 CS, each camp is worth 4. She had both buffs, and I could see her red buff had decayed farther than her blue buff because whenever you click on the enemy champions, you can see that. So a lot of valuable information just by clicking on them, by pressing tab. Whenever you see the enemy jungler on the minimap, it is very important that you click on that area and then you click on them to get as much information as possible. Now that I see Nidalee over here, this is warded. There's no reason for me to back. I might as well stay and work on her golems. As I'm working on these, I have 2 main options: recall and get my items after I finish, or I can gank top. And Pantheon has a big juicy wave, so I'm leaning towards ganking top. I'll show you my thought process of ganking this. So I know Nidalee's not here, which is the main thing. And we have a minion wave, so check and check. And now I'm building up my HP, trying to get level 3. Now that I'm level 3, what I want to do is wait for the girth of the minion wave to get underneath turret, because I don't want to be taking turret hits until I've actually struck Teemo. So I'm going to be very patient. I'm waiting for the girth to get under there, not just one straight minion. Start up my W. Pantheon does a good job pushing wave. I'm going to weave it around and through the turret. Smack Teemo, Aftershock's OP, I Q him and flash out, and with my Triumphant, I do end up living. This is a massive blow to Nidalee's early game. I've gotten off more jungle pressure than her so far, which has been huge for my team. Since she's the early game champion and Nunu scales better into the mid and late game anyways, I'm already out jungling Nidalee. And like I already mentioned, this Nidalee is actually Tarzaned on his 90% win rate Grandmaster account. And it was interesting in all chat. I wish you could have seen it, but let's just say he wasn't too happy. Alright, next I'm going to move on to my golems. We weren't sure if Nidalee had been here. I figured she might have came over here since they saw me top lane. And sure enough, Tarzaned is over here. I smite the big one from him. He's doing lots of damage because he has red buff. He still hasn't backed if you check his items. I should have just left at this point. I wasn't keeping close eye on the enemy bot lane and they come in and pinch me really hard. At this point, I would have won the trade against Tarzaned since I stole the big golem. He didn't get anything. All he got was a Dark Harvest stack, which isn't worth a whole lot. So all I needed to do was steal it, back away since they had bot priority, and then I could have actually weaved back around this way and done my Raptors. Bear in mind, Tarzaned still hasn't bought on his items, so even if he did go for my Raptors next, I would have been fine. And as you can see here, he can either back or take my Raptor. Since he is low on health, he's most likely going to just back. Yeah, he is actually taking my Raptors. This was very greedy. If we had this warded, this would have been very, very bad for him. This was a very greedy move on his part. Since he hasn't bought his items yet, he's already very low on health. He really shouldn't have gone for this play in my opinion. Yasuo could have killed him like instantly. I'm not going for my Raptors because I figured she might have taken them. Plus, I know the scuttle's up on the upper left side. There's no reason to go to areas where the enemy jungler has already been necessarily, because you'll just be wasting your time. So if you feel like they've already been in that area, there's a good chance of it, and you already know something is up for sure somewhere else, it's better to go there. I am going to head over top lane. Odds are Nidalee isn't over here. Going to work my way in on Teemo. Since my W was down, I probably should have avoided this gank until it was up. Not a huge deal though, getting some pressure. Nidalee made a big mistake coming top lane. Since I had dove in her top laner previously, Nidalee coming top lane was actually a really big mistake. Since odds were I had taken her golems, it was a big waste of time in general, and she gave up a lot of pressure on the map by doing this when she could have been potentially bot lane, mid lane, or just farming Raptors. I guess she just wasn't keeping tabs on my CS when I was in this area, because when I was over here, she already saw that. After taking my blue buff, I took her Raptors, which gave me a total of 8 CS, and each camp is worth 4. And then I was on her red buff, which she stole from me, so at that point she'd seen me, she knows I only have 8 CS. I take her golems, gank top, and then she could have seen I had 12 CS, so she really should have known her golems were going to be down. Not a huge deal though. You could argue she was coming in for the counter gank. And I don't know where Nidalee is at this point, so I'm just trying to avoid a bad situation. They hit this plant, and we do see the enemy mid laners mid. Teemo just recalled, so now I know Nidalee is in this area. So I'm not too interested in trying to fight her. I figured she would be on her Raptor since she just hit the plant. Come in behind Irelia, proc my E on her. I want to get Yasuo a good lead. Nidalee comes in for the counter gank. In general, this is something you want to avoid showing up to early game junglers since they are much stronger in the early game. Since she did hit the plant though, I figured I had a little window. Something to also keep in mind is, as a weak early game jungler, you're most vulnerable in your first clear. If you can avoid dying or losing too much in your first clear, you should be fine. In this situation, even if Nidalee did show up on the spot, me and Yasuo probably could have won the 2v2. It's mainly just in your first clear. Don't be afraid to give away your first buff and be a little bit resourceful, such as I did over here starting on blue. Now that my W is back up, I'm going to use the scuttle speed up to get a really nice gank over here. I already cleared the bush with my sweeper. Teemo doesn't really see me coming. I get in on him, knock him up. I have my aftershock, I can tank some turret. Pantheon goes in. I really should have taken another hit. Pantheon might have been able to live that way, and I could have done some more damage. I left a little bit soon. Not too huge of a deal. I can now shove in the wave. We do see Nidalee is bot lane, and my red buff is about to go up. There's no reason for me to head down there. If I were to come down here, she could easily 1v1 me. I would have to give up my red buff again, so instead I'm going to move into her jungle whenever I see her bot lane. Unfortunately, Nidalee thought ahead and laid her trap here, which lasts for a very long time. And as I come in for the golems, I step on it and it pushes me off of this. So instead, I'm going to have to concede these since I don't have any priority and they know I'm here. And I'm going to have to go for my blue buff instead and try to get as many camps as I can, because once again, can't really contest the early game jungler on your buffs without some extreme lane priority. I can just assume that Nidalee's wiping out my raptors and golems as well. So there's no big rush for me to head over into the red side of my jungle since she's there and I have no major lane priority. If you're in a situation where your mid laner's hard winning and your bot lane's hard winning, it would be okay for me to move into this area, but since that's not the case, this is really high elo and challenger, that's not going to be a possibility. So I just wipe out my blue side jungle. I know her golems are still up. I figured she's probably done with my red side jungle. I'm going to be looking for another gank top lane using the scuttle speed up. I'm going to come behind this time, going to weave my snowball, and we're going to land a juicy little knockup on Teemo. I didn't want him to get invisible in the bush. We'd have trouble killing him since I don't have my ultimate. So I took the snowball and angled it. That way it would hit him after I released it, and then we pick up another kill. Her raptors just spawned in. Even though she's an early game jungler, I am at level 6. I'm not too far behind Nidalee. In terms of gold, I'm probably actually ahead of her if you were to check, and my mid laner has priority at this point. Irelia is missing, so I assume she's roaming. Going in for the raptors for Nunu to take them instantly is really easy. Just use your W, you can Q it and kill the whole camp in just a matter of seconds. Even if Nidalee did show up, it would be easy to get out at this point, just E her and run away. We see her top lane. I figure we can set up a dive opportunity here. I step on another trap because why not? Pantheon's hella fed and he's just gonna run Nidalee down. I end up goofing my snowball into the wall, so I just end up running over here to try to help. Unfortunate play by my part. Run into Teemo, snare him, activate my ult, and I use my ultimate a little bit early so that way Pantheon doesn't die and I can get him the kill a little bit faster. No reason to do a full charge ult if you don't need to. Now that the enemy top laner and jungler are dead, I'm just going to go ahead and recall. I'm sitting on a lot of gold. No reason for me to stay top lane and help break turret. If we had a cannon minion underneath their turret, I would have stayed and destroyed it, but since we don't, there's really no need for me to wait here. We wouldn't be able to get many plates with just a few minions. I want to get back so I can continue to pressure the map. This is a bit of a no-no on my part. You're not really supposed to go to your losing lane like this. The only reason why I'm going bot lane right now is simply because the enemies are very low on HP. So if I do gank this, we're very likely to get some good results. I checked my jungle, figured it might be respawning back in, and unfortunately it's not. I see Nidalee going mid lane, start up my W. I angle to try to cut off her escapes, end up knocking him up, and it puts Tarzaned in a really bad spot. In terms of Tarzaned as the early game jungler, for those of you wondering what he did as his mistake, is he chose his wrong lane. He chose camping a Jhin, which is a really bad mistake in my opinion. Jhin can't kill tanks, and Jhin also has very low damage over time and high impact in team fights. He has very low impact in team fights in general. Yasuo's wind wall can block pretty much half his damage since his autos have such a low attack speed, and he can't get through me. So in reality, getting Jhin fed, camping bot lane isn't really the best option, and if he were to do that, he would want to be taking dragons, but he actually hasn't taken a dragon yet. The only thing he's been focused on is farming my jungle and camping bot lane. Bit of a waste of time in my opinion. Camping a Teemo Pantheon lane would have been way more beneficial. If Pantheon doesn't get early kills, he's absolutely worthless. This is a pure kill lane, so by getting top lane ahead, Pantheon can roam like you see here, and we'll be getting much more value out of this than Jhin would be giving his team in the early mid game. And with that being said, if he did camp top lane, I wouldn't have gone up there at all in the early game because we would have gotten wrecked. Instead, I would have camped my bot lane, which would have been easy with Zyra Snare. And Zilean can't slow Nunu. He would have to try to double bomb me, and at that point I'd release Snowball. Anyways, Tarzaned is dead. This is the time to go for Dragon. Even if it's warded, it should be doable. I activate my sweeper, move in for the Scuttle Crab, and now start on the Dragon. I wish Yasuo would have actually came here to help me. I was very annoyed that he stayed mid. I was pinging for help, typing for help. Guess he just really likes that turret plating. I do get the Dragon though, and I get away. You can use the scuttle speed up in your snowball to get out of these situations. I didn't want to stay in the pit because I knew he'd come back to cancel me. Just use W's to speed up, move away, and he can't slow you when you're on your W. And now I can move straight into my raptors, which is my only raptor. And I know my golems are up at this point as well, since I already walked past them. I'm going to go ahead and skip them though, since I saw Nidalee move left off in the mid lane. I don't want her getting these camps. It'll just put me farther behind. My red buff is also going to be up in a minute or less, so there's no reason for me to go for golems now, then come here, then come back here for my red buff. So might as well just come up here for a more efficient clear. Right now, I don't care if Nidalee goes bot lane. I'm still not to the point where we'll win that fight since the enemy bot lane's fed and Nidalee is stronger early game. All I'm looking to do is play around my strong laners right now, which are Pantheon and Yasuo. Yasuo has a level advantage. I know we can easily dive the Irelia here. I'm just looking for vision to break. Make sure Nidalee doesn't show up. If we are in a dive situation and Nidalee shows up, we'll be in trouble. We have mini wave under turret. It's a good time to start my dive. W, weave it around the turret a bit, land it, tank it. I only take 300-400 damage, easy kill. And if Nidalee shows up at this point, we can dive her as well. I believe Nidalee is bot lane at this point. My bot lane is freaking out, and there's no reason for me to go bot lane. Even if I thought Nidalee was going to dive them, what do you think's going to happen? With the early game Nidalee and the fed enemy bot lane, if I came here, we're all three going to die, right? Or if I stay here, since Irelia is dead, even if Nidalee does come, we'll kill her. If Nidalee and her bot lane come, we'll kill them, since my mid laner and top laner are both fed. So we'll play it. The enemy bot lane is making a move towards mid. Doesn't really matter. Irelia isn't here. And my bot lane makes the mistake of trying to follow it. Pantheon ults in. Zyra gets off a really nice play. And the enemies get pinched really hard. They really shouldn't have chased Zyra there. I'm going to come around with my snowball, try to get the Zillion, and I do end up hitting him. It doesn't count for much. If Yasuo had ult, we could have just one-shot him, but he didn't. I flash heal to survive the Zillion bomb and ignite. I barely live. Yasuo's so fed that she can't really mess with him. She also doesn't know where I am. I heal up here, get ready to fight, but she backs off. At this point, the early game jungler is lost. In the mid game, if they have not killed you, you have won as the mid late game champion. Nunu is the mid late game champ. Nidalee is the early game champ. If you do not let her kill you in your first clear or in the first 10 minutes, you have won the game. And that's effectively what we've done here by pathing away from her, by giving up our first buff, by doing some really smart ganks. We have won the game for and with our team. Irelia pushing up, tilted. At this point, there's really nothing she can do. I'm going to come up here to cut her off. She is pretty dang fast, even though we do have a Windrake. Teemo's still pushing up top lane, so we have options to chase this down. Mo gets off a really nice tornado combo, knocks her up with his ultimate. We're going to go ahead and chase her down. After we kill Irelia, going for Herald would be the appropriate choice. I'm not 100% sure why we didn't go for Herald. I suppose we wanted to chase Zillion instead, since it is solo queue. And I'm missing some HP and don't know where Nidalee is, so I go ahead and leave it alone. I don't want to try to solo Herald like I solo Dragon and have Mo not help me, so I'm going to go ahead and just leave that alone. Got my Dead Man's Plate, massive movement speed, and I'm still looking for Nidalee, and as you can see here, she's just still relying on counter jungling me. At this point, I'm fed enough to where I can actually probably solo her, smite this away. When I hit the plant here, I actually tripped myself out really hard. She must have flashed or just been way faster than I thought, because she ended up over here. Luckily, Pantheon was closing in just to be safe, and I'm following up with my snowball. Go through the Teemo mushroom, come up behind the turret. Not a whole lot they can do. As you can see, Nidalee didn't get off a hard enough snowball for her to be effective in the mid game, and since he's not duoed, is really not too much of a threat. You do have to be really careful, like I mentioned though, with invades. As a tank jungler or a weak early game jungler, they're likely to happen. Jhin stepping up, I have my Dead Man's Plate. I would chase him down, don't know exactly where the enemy team is. Right now I'm playing around Dragon Spawn, so I'm just going to farm up. No reason for me to stick my neck out too far. Going to clear mid lane a bit, setting up Dragon. Once again, I don't get much assistance while I'm taking it. That's okay though. It's just solo queue, it happens, you know, challenger. I use my shield to try to survive a bit longer. Pantheon comes in to help. I try to get behind him and out of Jin's ult range. Stay on top of the dragon, get it from the Nidalee. Even though I do die here, trading my life for Infernal is 100% worth it, especially as the late game champion. I am really annoyed though that Yasuo didn't come for this. Pantheon came and Caitlyn was nearby. If Yasuo would have came, I honestly believe we could have won that. Totally okay though. Staying mid, getting some pressure. And that's pretty much solo queue for you guys. Even if there is a right play, your teammates may not follow it. So if you think you can still do it and making it worth it, then you can do it. If not, just let it go. In this case, I thought I could get it and die, and it turns out that's exactly what happened. Working on my CS now. The team's not really grouped mid. Yasuo died, so there's no reason for me to really be here since he's one of the more fed people on our team. Might as well farm while I wait for us to group up for Herald or to shove down mid lane. No, you don't always have to be looking for something if the chances of you getting it are very low. Just farming up while I'm waiting for my team. Caitlyn's coming from base, so now I'm starting to move out for objectives. Zyra started the Herald. It was a bit of a weird timing, but we are in a decent spot. Nidalee doesn't have any pressure. He's just standing here watching. I'm going to take the Herald and close in with my team here. Yasuo's getting some pressure. Going to close in on the Irelia. At this point in the game, since we didn't allow ourselves to be taken advantage of, we are able to just perma-tank turrets and guide our team to victory. And that's really all there is to it, guys. If you can survive the early game, staying away from the enemy jungler, giving up an early buff, starting on a blue buff if you have to, and then doing tactical invades on the enemy jungler, then that's what you have to do. And that's what it takes to beat an early game jungler as a tank jungler. If I would have tried to fight this invade, if I would have tried to fight her in her early ganks, we would have 1000% lost. She would have gotten more kills, would have gotten big gold and XP lead on me, and there would have been zero I could have done to take those dragons or to get off these early thick ganks. At this point, my team's kind of just running around one by one, fighting mainly Yasuo. So whenever they die, get picked, do something stupid, I just break vision and farm camps. This dragon is coming up. I'm pushing out onto the map, taking Nidalee's camp since I am fed enough at this point to do so. Trying to set up another dragon take. His dragon is coming up. My team's fighting for some reason. We are fed enough though that we can do silly fights like these. And now, since we just got a few kills, we can do a Baron or the dragon. And in this case, we are going to Baron since we are already here. The enemy team is not surrendering yet in Challenger. You'd be surprised how often they don't surrender and they'll force you to take the victory because they really want that LP. Gonna take the dragon as well. Once again, my teammates aren't out on the map, so I'm just coming back in for CS. Even though we do have Baron buff, I don't need to go back and buy items quite yet. So I would have just waited for my team to move out on the map before I grouped up with them again. And that is the end of this replay, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to play against early game junglers. Before you guys click off this video, don't forget to go check out GameLeap. For those of you wondering, well, what's really the difference between GameLeap and watching YouTube videos? The problem with YouTube videos is that they're very basic and outdated. That's why I highly recommend you sign up with GameLeap. The courses we're making together are extremely in-depth and up-to-date with the current game. Several new videos are released every single day, and I would never ask you guys to check it out if I didn't truly believe in it and if I didn't think it would help you out tremendously. I'm already making lots of new videos on the site that you don't want to miss out on. So click on my KingStix link right on the pinned comment or in the description below to get your discount and get started. My name is KingStix, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.